Greetings everybody, Redbeard here, coming to you with a bit of a political message. It's only appropriate, I think, that in this time of year, in this environment of ours, that we have an opportunity ourselves as wrestling fans to be a bit political. Talking specifically to wrestling fans in the state of South Carolina, although neighboring areas might want to get involved in this particular effort as well, as it's something that I have adopted some passion for. It's an effort that may go somewhere, may not. You don't know until you try. That's the point of this whole thing that I'm going to be getting into here, is that in this political climate we are seeing all kinds of things where people are getting out in the streets and protesting and whatnot, and this is nowhere near the level of thing in terms of importance that all of that is, but I just wanted to add a little bit of brevity, whatever you want to call this, to the entire ballpark that is the political spectrum right now, and it relates to how professional wrestling and other combat sports are regulated in the state of South Carolina. You may not be aware of this, but if you are a fan in the state of South Carolina and you've paid to go to a professional wrestling event at any point in time over the past couple of years, a portion of your money that you've paid to the promoter, to the gate, whatever you want to call it, in the form of a ticket, has then in turn gone directly back to the state. That division is, of course, the Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation. I'm not here to demonize any of those folks. That's not the objective here at all. They're doing their jobs just like anyone else is. But the fact of the matter is that LLR in this state has a very wide scope in terms of its power. Wrestlers have to have licenses. Promoters have to have licenses. There are all sorts of fees and whatnot associated with running a professional wrestling event in the state. And those fees and those requirements are a big reason why we don't have the level of involvement that other states in this part of the world have. For example, I'll give you a piece of data that I actually quoted to someone here not too long ago, and that I'm going to reference again before the end of this video. But over the course of a weekend here in July, back I think it was the 15th through the 17th that I referenced, there were 14 events in either Georgia or North Carolina between those two states. Guess how many shows there were in the state of South Carolina that same time? 1. 14, 1. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that it is just very, very expensive to run a show here. Not only for the promoter, because they've got to pay the talent, obviously, but they've also got to pay all these fees to local government in some cases for whatever permit a township or community might require, but also a good bit of money paid back to LLR. That being the case, I think it's time that we, as fans, try to do something in order to show our local representatives that we are frustrated and that we want to see more wrestling in this state, the way people in North Carolina get to see wrestling, the way people in Georgia get to see wrestling, the way people in Florida get to see wrestling. We just happen to have one of the few states in the entire nation that regulates things to this degree. You do see other regulations out there, but not on the order of what South Carolina imposes. So that being the case, we're talking about things of the political spectrum. As I mentioned before, I wanted to show off these two things right here. And my light is making it a bit difficult to see, but these are those good old forms of communication called letters. Yeah, kids out there, you might have heard of one of those. This was what we had before email came along, but for a lot of people, this is still just as good of a method of communication as anything else. But starting a bit of a letter writing campaign. I figure, what the hey, it can't hurt. At least sending these out, I know that I've actually put something physical together that will hopefully eventually wind up in someone's hand, and hopefully they'll read it. But these are letters to my local representatives in the House of Representatives of the state of South Carolina. I am telling them about the matter at hand, that being that the Department of LLR in this state is a little bit far-reaching. And I'm not suggesting that we abolish LLR by any stretch of the imagination. The suggestion that I've made in these letters is that South Carolina does something similar to what the governor of Kentucky did here not too long ago, which was to essentially reorganize an existing office that was in charge of regulating these types of things, but he did so in such a way that he took out a lot of red tape and a lot of things that were really non-conducive to the business of combat sports, seeing his state, again the state of Kentucky, as a fertile ground where businesses could come in, larger industry could have shows there. He even went so far as to say, hey, Kentucky should be competing for WrestleMania. And you know what? Hats off to you, sir. You want to enter a campaign to get WrestleMania in your state? More power to you. I've been to Nashville and I've been to a few other, Nashville's in Tennessee, but I've been to several areas up in that part of the world, and the whole thing is really just conducive to, if you can get a venue up there that's in line with what they would have for WrestleMania, then more power to you. But the point is, he's trying. And that's what we're doing with these, is we're trying. So be that as it may, what I'm going to do is, in capping off this video, is to provide a couple of links in the description, not only to the State House website for here in South Carolina, where you can go as a constituent to look for your representatives, information on how you can contact them, but also a couple of just little links to some downloads for these two particular letters. That way you can get a sense of what we actually are talking about, and hopefully give you an idea of something that you could do yourself if you wanted to contact them. Now here again, this may come off as childish in the grand scheme of what we're talking about in terms of politics these days, because God knows there's plenty of problems in the world, very few of which will be solved by anyone who considers himself to be a politician. But this is just something that I've been inspired to do here recently. And it's a consequence of all that's been going on. It's just something that set upon me is to say, okay, well, here's something you can do. Because I think there's a lot of people who are talking. I think there's a lot of people who are, I'll go ahead and say, spinning their wheels when it comes to efforts. I think there are some real ways to enact change, or at least try to, and doing stuff like this, hey, we're trying. So, feels good, man. So again, if you're interested in being a part of this, go ahead and check out the links that are in the description to this video, and join in, be a part of this. If you're a wrestling fan in the state of South Carolina, or if you're a fan in the neighboring regions, I'd be glad to have you on. Appreciate you guys tuning in.